You wanted to know about tech marines, now they want to know about librarians. Considering that Dawn of War 4 is coming soon, and the fact that the Blood Ravens famously have librarians everywhere in their chapter, yeah, let's talk about them. Librarians are those space marines who are gifted with psychic abilities. In most chapters, they are combat psychers, or record keepers, or advisors to their company captains. But how does one become a librarian? Well, during the recruitment process, if an aspirant gives off psychic abilities, they will be taken aside and given the training of a librarian. However, a librarian's training is much more intense and much more dangerous than regular Space Marine training. Because if a librarian gives in even for a second, they can open up a portal by accident and let demons of the warp in. When it completes their training, they will become what's called a codicil. Basically, they're the ones who take down the history of events that happen within their chapter. Essentially, for a fun fact, if you're reading a Space Marine Codex about one of the original chapters, you're reading it from a codicil's notes. From there, a codicil will eventually be promoted to an espilatory, a full combat psyker. And usually they'll be assigned to a company or a strike force to act as an advisor and a support role. Whether they divinate the future or cast fireball in a closed room. But announcer, I hear you saying, what about the worries of the demons? Well, among the Space Marines' armory is something called a psychic hood. It is a piece of technology that helps regulate your psychic powers, meaning that it is much harder for those within the librarian to suffer a psychic backlash. But don't go thinking this makes Space Marines tolerant of psychers. It varies from chapter to chapter about how they feel about them. For example, the Black Templars vehemently despise anybody who's a psyker. It is noted among the Death Watch that if you have a Black Templar in your Death Watch squad, you keep librarians far away from them. Whereas in a chapter like the Blood Ravens, they have an abnormal amount of psychers. It was not uncommon for the Blood Ravens to have their chief librarian be their chapter master. Whereas in other chapters, being a librarian is an honored role of the chapter, while in others, you are tolerated at best for your abilities. But to see a librarian in action, basically described as watching a level 15 to 20 wizard in D&D go off. We're talking about individuals that can be so powerful, they can stop some of the greatest weapons in 40k from killing their battle brothers. Or in the case of the Ultramarines Chief Librarian, barely survive contact with the Tyranid hive mind. But soon we'll be talking about chaplains, and then my favorite Space Marine role, the Apothecary.